A conference surrounding preparing, responding, and healing from community crisis events is coming to Bangor. Maine Child Welfare Education is an organization comprised of volunteers who host annual conferences featuring a variety of topics around child and community safety. Following the tragic shootings in Lewiston, this year's conference is how police and the public prepare and respond to mass casualty events and how to heal during the aftermath. With workshops and presentations hosted by police, FBI, and those who have experienced loss at the hands of community violence will share their knowledge and give insights on how law enforcement prepares and responds to these events.
We want people to be prepared. We want them to understand and take the mystery out of what happens during the response. What are the police going to do? What are the hospitals going to do? What are teachers going to do, for instance, in the schools? And then afterwards, it's how to heal from that. These professionals that we have coming together to talk about this approach all those aspects, every aspect of the incident, so that we can draw the audience that is looking for these answers.
The conference will take place at the Cross Insurance Center on June 27th from 8 a.m. to 4:45 p.m. For more information, you can visit wingsinc.org.